Okay, thank you very much for a very lively seminar. Lots of questions. People were very interested in what you had to say. Can you give us a short summary of your work?
So basically the work I do right now is focused on the human dimensions of fisheries, and I look at different ways, sometimes marine tourism and sometimes other fisheries like the ornamental fisheries. So I look at how humans are interacting together. The idea of shifting livelihoods towards tourism, it's like I said in the presentation, it's not necessarily linear. It's possible, but it's not a straightforward path for fishermen.
Yeah, so interesting, because the Algarve has seen that shift for decades now.
Right.
And so it's interesting to see what could we have done better. And I think that you are at that stage working with communities where that shift towards tourism might happen.
Yes.
And the question here is, do you think there is a way to make it a good transition that takes care of environment, livelihood of people, money, and so on? It's a lot of components, right?
There's a lot of components, and I think it's all worth pursuing. Doing it, it's so complex, and you guys here are lucky you at least have people are exposed to tourism. So now, being that tourism development's already happened in a lot of regions, they can at least look back on maybe what could have done better and start to shift towards that. And I think a lot of it's going to be marketing and making responsible tourism look good, look sexy for the tourists coming in. Like, they don't want to be part of the problem, make them part of the solution. So I think there's a lot to do on the consumer side too.
Interesting from the point of view of methodology and how to make sure that the answers you are getting are the correct ones and that they were not just trying to please you, which was a very interesting part of your conversation, your talk. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, what I presented today was just a little bit of the actual data I had. I asked questions in a lot of different ways to try to get past that, yes ma'am, we're just here to please you. So, in some places I asked, I'd say, do you know what, the first question was like, do you know what tourism is? And almost everybody, yes. And then, that's why I added, well, what are the tourism, what exists in this area? Can you name the, tourism operators that are nearby? And also, what tourism opportunities are there? And most of them, that's where the awareness levels were obviously going low. And I did that with all the questions just to kind of triangulate the data and I'm sure it's not 100% accurate, it never is, but I feel like I got close that way.
What's your future work? Continuing this very important and interesting work, but it's tiresome, right?
Yeah, it's great. Right now I'm really involved in looking at the distinction between tourism in Hawaii and the aquarium trade there, because there's a lot of disagreement, like resource use or conflict. As far as the stuff I presented on today, I'm still exploring the idea of social entrepreneurship tourism. Should be a forthcoming publication soon, and then I do want to still work on the ground truthing of that, to go back to the hostel that I talked about. Like I said, there's 4 of them now, and to see community perceptions now that they're involved in tourism. So all of the stuff I did before was pre-tourism, and I want to see what happens after.
So what, if you have to guess what's going to happen in 20 years to these communities, will they have tourism, and is it tourism going to be a force for the good?
Tough
Wild
question.
Guess.
Yeah, no. What I've seen so far, I briefly mentioned it, but basically the one that's been most established, the hostel is about 6 years old now, 7 years old. They are starting to engage in community-based tourism. So they're starting to develop it very slowly, which I think is great. I don't think tourism development should be rapid. And they are starting to add in more options like hikes and nature-guided tours that are from the local community. I think that's really incredible. So let's hope it continues on that track. I think some things that probably have been overlooked quite a bit are infrastructure, sewage, and where does the pee-pee go and all that stuff, because they're right on the beach. So it's definitely better than blast fishing, that's for sure. And I hope it, like I said, I hope it continues on that semi-sustainable track, and they're doing a good job of awareness. They do beach cleanups and other things to reduce plastic waste. So there's some really objective good coming from it. So
thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
the talk. Bye bye.